Good morning. This is Diana Sescalini, and I'm going to be talking to you about Chapter 1. I'm going to be using the actual Chapter 1 PowerPoint. So I'm going to move myself to this corner up here so that we can actually see that. And let's go back a little bit. Sorry, guys. We're going to talk about Chapter 1. It's just an overview of finance from an economic standpoint. Economics is a very difficult class to take, but we're going to cover a lot of economic terms in this semester. And there's a lot of terms this semester, and my goal is for you just to understand the terms, not to memorize them all, but just have an understanding of some of the things. So here are some of the things we're actually going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we call basic financial concepts, and we'll go over that. Let me adjust my screen. We're going to talk about why is finance important and what we call the economics of finance, which talks about resources, scarce resources. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this stuff. A lot of terminology, guys. So if you looked at the chapter outline that I provided to you, it's terminology, a lot of it. First thing we're going to talk about is what is opportunity cost. An opportunity cost is a cost of something. When you make a decision to do one thing, what is the cost that you're giving up? So if I choose to invest my money in one direction instead of investing in another, what are my opportunity costs? Think of it like this. You're choosing to take classes and to better your education. What are you giving up? What is the cost of what you're giving up? Well, if you were on a face-to-face class, you would be giving up time with your family at home on that night, possibly work. So the key is if I do one thing, what am I giving up? What's the cost of the other thing? The whole thing about finance and economic cost is a return on investment, and we're going to talk about that further. So here, these are choices available for funds. So if I have X amount of money and I choose to buy stock, I can expect an 11% return on my money. Everything we do from an economic or financial standpoint should be about a return on your money. So anywhere from an 8 to 12% return or higher is excellent. Anything below a 4% return is okay, but it's not an excellent thing. So it's about what am I going to get back in return when I make this purchase or make this investment. So even purchasing stocks are an investment. You have the money available. You're going to take your money and invest. If you purchase a home, you're going to expect a 9% return on your money. If I purchase bonds, and we have a whole chapter on this, and I'll explain that. But if you put your money in a savings account, it says a 2% return. In reality, today, you're looking at maybe a 1% return. So I'm putting my money away. I'm only going to get 1% in return. Would you rather get 11% return or 1% in return? Now, notice down here it says purchase a new car, and purchase a new car actually says, oh, there's my laser pointer, says negative 15%, because when you buy a car, it depreciates in value. It does not appreciate. When you buy a house, it appreciates. But a car, you're not going to get anything in return. It's going to be a negative return. So given this concept, let's talk about opportunity cost. So if I decide to purchase a car, the cost of what I'm giving up is stock, because I could be investing in stock instead, but instead I'm purchasing a car. So this is the opportunity cost, is what did I give up to buy the car? If I decided to purchase stock rather than a car, then the opportunity cost would be I'm giving up the ability to buy a house. So see, the opportunity cost is really about the trade-off. What is it that you're giving up in exchange for what you're getting? And sometimes it's hard to measure in a dollar amount. Again, you're going to school. Your opportunity cost of going to school is less family time, less time for work, less time for you, less sleep time for some of you. Okay? So hopefully you understand that. The next thing we're going to look at is income, expenditures, and taxes, because this whole thing is about understanding your money. So this is just an overall. You may know this, you may not, but I'm just going to go over it anyway. So gross income is all the money you receive during the year. So all your wages, tips if you earn tips, any interest you have on savings and bonds, any money from rental property, any money you make from a business. This is called gross income. And so here's how things work with that. Gross income minus taxes, that's the taxes you pay, equals disposable income. Disposable income for us is really your take-home pay. You make X amount of money, they hit you up with all these taxes, and what you take home is your disposable income. So now you bring your disposable income home, minus your fixed expenses will equal what we call discretionary income. So your fixed expenses are the bills you have to pay every month, such as rent, utilities, car payments, insurance. So once I pay that, my discretionary income is kind of what's left over. And guys, sometimes we don't have much left over. So discretionary income is how much I can save. So I can only really save my discretionary income. So I'm going to show you a chart on the next slide that talks about variable households. I've got what, 6, 7 different people here. Here's their gross income. Notice going from small to large. It talks about their gross income, how much is taxes, what's the percent of taxes being paid compared to the gross income. To get this percent, you would take the taxes divided by the gross income. And notice the more money they make, the higher the percent, and that's usually true. And we'll talk about taxes in a short minute here. So here's their disposable income minus this, and this becomes their discretionary income. Now this was 2012. A lot's changed in 8 years, but this came from the IRS. So this is kind of how to understand. You really need to look at there's two things to fix here. You can increase your gross income and you can decrease your expenses, which will increase this column here. When you start increasing this column, you now can take this money and invest it or put it away. Okay, so this is just a chart to help you understand. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about taxes as a general viewpoint. I do taxes for friends and family, did my own for 40 years. Oh, not that old. Yeah, 40 years. And so we're going to talk about 3 different types of taxes. So there's a progressive tax. A larger percent is paid as your income increases. That's actually what we've seen on the previous chart. A regressive tax is a larger percent is as income decreases. And then something called proportional taxes, that the percent stays the same regardless of the income. So let's take a look at examples of these 3 things. Here's an example of a progressive tax. Here's the formula. By the way, guys, there will be lots of formulas in this semester. Someone asked me, will they need a financial calculator? No, not really, unless you know how to work it, because I can teach you how to do it all on a regular calculator. So to find my tax percent for a progressive tax, the amount of money I pay in dollars divided by the income in dollars times 100. The reason we times it by 100 is because we want to turn it into a percent. When you do this calculation, you're going to get a decimal. You want to change it to a percent, and that's why you multiply by 100. So basically, income tax is progressive. So this person's paying $3,000 in taxes. They only made $20,000, so they're paying 15% of their wages or their gross income in taxes, where this person's paying 28%. Most of us are a progressive tax for income tax. It is true, the more money you make, the more you pay. Okay, let's go to regressive tax. Sales tax is considered a regressive tax. So if my income is $20,000 and let's see, where are we at here? Sales tax paid is I'm paying $20,000. 5% of $20,000 is $1,000. So I'm paying 5%. Okay, so even if my income changes, actually my percent goes down. So a regressive goes the other direction. Finally, we have proportional tax. So these are proportional. Medicare is 1.45% of your gross wages. No matter how much you make, it's the same. So it's proportionally the same whether you make $30,000 or whether you make $500,000. Okay, I have one last slide to show you about taxes, and this is called the flat tax proposal. People think we should just pay a flat tax. Well, that would all be great and dandy, but it really wouldn't be fair to everybody. Okay, so this is just a flat tax proposal, nothing to be excited about. So this is the first half of chapter 1. My next video will cover more economic terms.